Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Safe Room, a survival horror game club podcast. I'm Grace, and with me is my co-host, Rose.
Hello, I'm co-host.
That's right. Co-host.org. You are Eggbug.
That's right. I'm Eggbug, and everybody's arguing about me for no reason.
That's right. Mm-hmm. We played Dead Space this week, or this month. God, could you imagine if this was a weekly show?
I would die. I would not be living.
We could do it if it was our full-time job. Maybe.
Yeah. Patreon.com/The Safe Room.
That's right.
Help make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we also...
Dead Space.
This was a little... Because I played original Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
And you played like a third of original Dead Space.
Yes. I played like a third of the original game. And then I was like, I wonder how that remake is. Because there's some things in the original Dead Space that we'll talk about that I was not a fan of.
Yeah.
I switched over to the remake, and I like the remake a lot.
It's good. It is good.
Despite it being an action game, I guess action oriented, it reminds me a lot of Alien Isolation, just in terms of like all of the money is on the screen at all times.
Yeah.
And it's just like super polished and refined. And it's just they made a good game. I am pretty cynical about AAA games, for good reasons. I think.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that they just like made a good one of these. So, yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think playing original Dead Space, because I played it. I played the original. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I think I wasn't living in Chicago at the time. And I kind of was like, that was mid.
Yes.
You know? And then enjoyed the remake, but kind of felt... I mean, took some issues with some of the adaptational choices, which we'll talk about. And then... Yeah. And kind of maybe ideologically objected to it. Like, does Dead Space really need to be updated? Like, that kind of thing. Right, and then replaying this, I was just like, this is just fucking solid. Like, it really hits every beat you would like it to hit. It escalates in a really satisfying way. Like, at first I played, and I was like, should I play this on hard? Like, this is kind of easy. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, oh, I'm scrambling through most encounters, Like, I'm glad I didn't put it on hard. Right, like, it just feels like it has a really nice arc to it, and that it ratchets in complexity in kind of a satisfying way. Not every level is a winner, but most are at least good. It just is really impressive, I think, on a like fundamental craft level, and also manages to be like pretty spooky and pretty atmospheric, to boot. I was like full gamer brained on this one, I think.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah.
What happens in Dead Space?
In Dead Space, you play as Isaac Clarke, mechanic, and all-around working-class dude. You and a team of 5 people total, including yourself, are investigating the disappearance or the loss of communication, rather, with the USG Ishimura, which is a gigantic mining ship called a planet cracker, so named because it literally like blows up asteroids and like mines the resulting material. And you get there, and it turns out that most of the people who were on the ship have been turned into zombies. Also, you have a wife who was a doctor on the ship, and she is missing. 2 of your crew members are killed instantly The remaining 2 is a guy named Hammond, who's sort of the de facto leader. I don't remember what his like job is. Is he? I mean, he is like the manager basically, but I don't know what. Like if he's like a security guy or like what his deal is.
Yeah, I read it. I just read that he was just like the captain.
Yeah, and then what's the lady's name? I'm forgetting. What's her name?
Kendra.
Kendra's cool. I like Kendra a lot. And then she's like, I guess like a navigator or something. I'm not quite sure.
I thought she was like a computer person.
Oh, yes, she is a computer person. Correct. So she goes. I mean, so basically, you land on the ship. You're investigating. Zombies attack. Kill 2 of your crew members. Tensions between Hammond and Kendra are rising. Kendra, in particular, is accusing Hammond of being like a government stooge or like a somehow connected to the corporation in some way. It turns out that on the planet below, in which there's like a colony like overseeing some of the beginning mining operations, like scouting out the planet to like figure out what portions of it should be cracked, etc., etc. They've dug up a marker, sort of like a 2001 monolith type thing, which causes dementia and hallucinations in people close to it, and also eventually like turns them into these zombie creatures. You are trying to get the ship fixed and trying to get back home. Part of the game is like you send a distress signal on an asteroid, and like a military ship picks it up, but oh no, they picked up an escape pod from the Ishimura, which had a xenomorph on it. That's the zombie guys. And they crash land into the Ishimura, completely destroyed in... guys, it's stuff like that. It's basically you're running around the ship, trying to solve problems, and as soon as you solve one problem, like another problem shows up, and you have to go solve that one. Hammond gets killed, and then you run into Kynes, who was a person... he wasn't the captain, but he was like high-ranking officer on the ship. Who is also a unitologist, because there's a Scientology analog that's obsessed with these markers and stuff. And he is basically like, if we bring the marker back to the planet, then this will stop and we can like contain it there. And that's what happened before, like it was buried, right? And so you go do that, but then Kendra kills him and flies off in his ship with the marker and is like, hey, guess what? I was the government secret agent the whole time. But then with the help of your ghost wife, you call her back. And
no, your very alive wife.
You're truly alive wife. Yes. You're a very extremely alive wife. Then you call her back and deliver the marker back to the planet. Have a showdown with Kendra, who reveals that you are clinically insane, and play the whole video of your wife that you watch at the beginning of the movie, which shows her suicide. And then a big monster guy shows up trying to get the marker, and you kill that guy, and then you flee the planet, but your dead wife's on the ship haunting you and giving you a scare. And that's what happens in Dead Space. Anything major that I missed in that?
That's what happened in the game. That's the story.
My extremely clinical point precision summary.
My extremely alive wife.
Something I did not really clock both times I played this game. The first time because I had not played it, and I don't know why I didn't clock the second time. But this is kind of a Silent Hill 2. And I didn't think about that.
It's very funny. So throughout this game, Kendra clearly knows that your wife is dead.
Yes.
and just kind of goes along with it, because she needs you to, get the thing off the ship and whatever. So it's just really funny because it's like, Isaac, you didn't scrub through the video, bud. Let me show you the whole video.
Yeah, it's so
Why
funny.
didn't you watch the whole thing? It's really funny. I don't know.
It's so so 2008 video game writing, which I know was kind of your principal complaint. I think
my thing, the thing with the writing for me in the original game is that I hated the Hammond Kendra stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like the remake gives it a little bit more dimensions than just like you. Then Kendra just going, you know what's going on, Hammond. I fucking hate you.
And Hammond be like, I don't know what's going on. We have to work together. That sort of thing.
It is, and it's that for like the entire game, and I hate it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it also is so like in the remake, it kind of gradually escalates to the point where they're yelling at each other.
Yes.
But like literally,
and then
the first thing that
in
goes
the original
wrong
game,
in the original,
it's that from the jump. It's wild.
I also completely forgot that Hammond like recognizing one of the xenomorphs, and then like that's why like he ejects the escape pod with one of them in it, is because he like can't bring himself to kill the xenomorph that like looks like his friend or is his friend, right? That's completely new to the remake. That is like not in the original game at all, which I did not realize upon playing the remake back in the day. Which I also
it's so funny and
reviewed. I'll post the review in the description.
Yeah. I'm wondering how the original would hit playing it now, because like in the original game, Hammond just like it feels like a bit. It feels it just feels like it's that Twin Peaks season 3 scene where like they get the fingerprints and they're like, oh, they say it's an FBI guy, that's wrong, and they throw it in the trash. It feels like that. It feels like Hammond being like, fuck it, whatever, and then the xenomorph is just gone and nobody comments on it.
Yeah, literally, it's such a weird. I mean, I think that beat of you like you have to fight the like xenomorph boss that's like crawling around on the outside of the ship to like get the signal clear, I think. And then you finally get the message from the military ship, and they're like, we picked up your escape pod, and that like moment of like, oh god, no, like everything is fucked, is like such a like that. I think actually that roller coaster ride thing basically of like something going wrong at every turn is like really fun. There's
a level of like every part of the ship that would be useful in this situation is just broken.
Yes.
Is very funny to me.
And
also just like this parallel story of like this other ship coming in, and like on the screen it looks like just some like tough like stormtrooper looking guy, and he's like, we got your escape pod, and then just everybody's dead.
And you get the shot of him like reaching to the camera while the xenomorph just like murders him. Like I think I don't think it was like, even when it came out, it was not like Doom levels of subversive or whatever, and that ad where they were like, your mom would hate this video game, it's so gory, was like cringe to the max. But like I do think it is bleak in a way that like video games don't tend to be these days, like it just, everyone dies, the end of the game is like, I mean, it's kind of a cheap jump scare, and it's played a little more subtly in the remake. Because like in the remake, the camera pans over and she's like lying in the co-pilot chair and then like sits up and screams, right? But in the original game, it pans over and she's like hiding behind the chair and then like jumps up. It's like, it's pretty silly. But you know, just nothing good happens to anyone, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of fun. It's fun. You know, it's horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something, and I forgot.
Yeah. Well, was it?
I was gonna. I was gonna wonder what adaptational stuff you didn't enjoy about it.
So I am kind of mixed on Isaac speaking as the thing. Like okay. At once, because on principle, I'm kind of anti-silent protagonists, right? I don't. There's sort of this common logic in video games that like it's less immersive if the main character speaks, or there's sort of a, you know, and I just don't think that's true. I think that's silly, and a lot of my favorite games are games that kind of dispense with that notion, right? Mm-hmm. That very directly like give you a kind of voice or place in the story, you know. And the but I think it does kind of work interestingly here, because in the original game, Isaac is just constantly bossed around by Hammond and Kendra, who just mostly sit in like one of two rooms and are like fairly safe, and Kendra's just like blooping on the computer while you're like risking your life and limb at every turn, and that creates kind of an interesting dynamic of like, you are a worker, they are bosses, right? And you have to do everything. That makes the thing work. That's also like a microcosm of like, you know, the ship itself. Like one of the things that's revealed is that the like corporation that owns the Ishimura is like, you know, it's like over 50% of the board of directors are unitologists. The captain of the ship is a unitologist. A lot of like people across like every core like system of the ship are unitologists, and so they all have an interest in like getting the marker, taking it back to the unitologists, like doing something with it, revealing it to the world, whatever they're like. And also they have like competing interpretations of like what should be done, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like a tension between like multiple characters, right? In the sort of like, you know, audio log portion of the narrative. But I just think it's nice. I think there's a way that like that subtext like ripples out, and it feels like, I think there are games where a silent protagonist, like it doesn't really matter that the BioShock protagonist is silent, I guess. Like, I don't really think that like if you made him speak, it would change anything. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, it would, because obviously it changes things, but like, I don't think I would object so much, whereas here it does feel like kind of a core element of like the game's narrative identity, and that it also kind of makes 2 and 3 interesting in that he does talk in those, and that being like Dead Space being almost like a dream that happened to someone else and that you have to like remember and contextualize, right? And that you can emotionally comment on now. Like, that's kind of an interesting dynamic that I do think the remake kind of like, he's way more of an agent because he occasionally like volunteers for dangerous stuff that like the other 2 characters like try to dissuade him from doing, right? Like, it makes him way more of like an equal partner in that trio. In a way that kind of changes what the game is about, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. I think the thing that I liked about it was, I mean, it goes back to the Kendrick and Hammond stuff where it's like, it feels like the crew is way more fleshed out, and I have way more of like the dynamics of what the crew is, rather than just like
every character gets way more to do and gets way more space to like be in person, including the dead wife, right?
Yes.
Who is just like such a dead wife in the original. Like, there's nothing else to her,
right?
Basically, you know.
Yeah, and I like, and it just when I wanna play like a popcorn kind of game like this, it's generally good to have a baseline of like I have an image of what the crew is before shit goes wrong.
Yeah.
In a way that the original just doesn't convey, because everyone is just such an archetype that I just bounce off of it immediately.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's also like the thing with like I the video I watched that kind of recapped, like, showed differences between the two games. It's like literally the walk up from when you park your ship at the very beginning of the game to going to the front door is like twice or three times as long. And you get like them talking to each other like way more. And I think even that opening scene of them like approaching the ship is longer too, right? So it's, and you know, sometimes longer is better. Like sometimes getting that time. Like, and also I said like, oh, I really like Kendra, and part of that is literally like me remembering remake stuff, because I think her performance is a lot better, and the way she like the performance that she's putting on to seem like totally, I mean, not totally helpless, because she's obviously like doing stuff, but like a victim, someone who's suspicious of what's going on with other people, someone who's like trying to figure things out and like along for this ride along with everyone else, would really like, she is the most in control human character for almost the entire game, right? And like when that switch flicks, there's, you know, her voice grows colder, she feels more menacing, right? Like that, it's conveyed a lot, I think, more directly, more dramatically, in a better way than in the original.
Is the stuff with her brother in the original game?
No. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. It really it really rearranges the like emotional space. And also like the stuff with, I'm forgetting the guy's name, but the doctor who's like pro becoming the new flesh. And like, you know, is like kind of like the principal or human villain, I guess, right? Like he gets a lot more stuff too. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like, I think the remake does a really capable job of translating and, for lack of a better word, updating the aesthetic of the original. It feels faithful while also having its own kind of spin on it. I do kind of like, in the original, there's like a broader contrast between like light and dark areas. Like there's areas that are kind of brightly lit and there's areas that are quite dark, right? Whereas everything becomes kind of moody and dark in the remake.
Yeah.
And so there are a couple like aesthetic touches that like Isaac doesn't breathe as much in the remake, I think, where that's like a constant sound in the original, and that's kind of cool.
Right.
So there are some like aesthetic touches, and I also really like the way the visor glows in the original, that they kind of tone that down for the remake. And there's even kind of like a jaggedness and like a almost polygonal harshness to like the uniform, you know, the armor suit, that it looks a little bit more real, I guess, or a little more practical in the remake, but also loses some of that like iconicity. It looks a little bit more specific and less iconic, I guess.
Right.
But those are
there's a I'm just agreeing, like there is a there's like a charm to like how rough the original looks. That I really like, because it is very like, I don't know, compared to like the remake, it feels very it feels very simple, but in a way that's like very affecting, I guess.
Yeah, I really love the blue colored like hologram calls. Where the character models look great because they're like filtered through this weird thing, you know? Because like when you're like with them in a room, they're like, oh, the character models look kind of sus. Like they don't look quite right, you know? But then in the like camera stuff where it's actually most of the time when you're like seeing a character model, they look fantastic because there's like that remove. And I think the remake kind of like, I think it is color, right? It's a little bit more like a video call, right? And I think that's kind of I understand why you do that. Like the models are higher fidelity. Like the reason you did that before was literally because like you wanted the sort of jankiness of the animation and of the model itself to like be removed a little bit. And when you don't have to do that, then like, okay, you can, but I think that it's like the scenes in Alien where they're like looking at like security cam footage or whatever, right? Like you don't want to up-res that. The point is that it's a little bit like I can't quite see what's there, you know. So yeah, I think it's go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of the calls in the remake are like pre-rendered as well.
Yeah. I mean that would make sense.
And by that I mean like I'm sure they are in the original, but like it is very like character model speaking into the camera sort of thing happening, whereas the remake is very like choreographed kind of scenes, I guess. You see it especially with like with Hammond and Kendra being split up from the xenomorph attack. Like that is very much like you're watching a video recording of them, running away.
Yes, which that you don't really have that in the. It's like as soon as something happens, like the camera shuts off, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, I think something that still really hits in both versions is the like immersive HUD stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think there is something cool about like everything being rendered in a way that's like in universe kind of. Like I think it really does like I don't want to say like immersive, but there's really no like you can pause the game, but when you're doing stuff, there's no way to like get outside of the space, right? Like even when you're looking at a map. And I think that it's an effective way to ratchet tension. It also like works as a kind of like it just keeps you looking at the environment and engaged in the environment directly, right? It's nice. And also the rig is such a cool image. Like it's such a weird, thing.
I have more to say about this, but just one thing I wanted to say about the character models too.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it. The 2008-ness of this game is so clearly evidenced by like the character model for the women in this game. And it's just like Kendra is just like a character model with a big boob slapped on her. It's like, what is going on? And then the remake is way more like, that is a person. That is a human being.
Yeah, well, they're also... this might be somewhat the case in the original, but I think all the remake, because it's all new voice acting... the like voice actor of Isaac does return, but he wasn't in the original game, obviously, right? Or maybe was, but only doing the like.
I think he was
screams,
only doing like the grunts and stuff. Yeah.
And so I think all the models are modeled after the actors. And also it's nice, like I forget what Isaac Clarke's wife's name is. I guess it doesn't matter. But
isn't it like Nicole?
I think that's right. Yeah, I think it is Nicole. But she looks like significantly older. Like looks closer to Isaac's age.
I do like that. I do. I like how old Isaac is, and they definitely made Nicole look older. And I feel like. You get, oh my god, she looks like a fucking Brianna Wu character in the first game. Oh my god. Sorry.
No,
I
you're
just
fine. Listen.
I was just on the fandom when I clicked Dead Space 1 and I was like, what the fuck? Jump scared.
Yeah, no, it's very...
And she looks so much more normal in Dead Space 2. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. It's fine. We could talk shit about Brianna Wu anytime on the show. It's legal. It's allowed. We're not accusing her of any crimes. We're just saying
Goodness
that she sucks. It's
Goodness
all right.
gracious.
It's all good.
God, that model looks terrible. Okay. So I feel like in the remake, and obviously they're like backporting a lot of Dead Space 2 stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I haven't played, but I really want to.
Yeah, all the zero gravity stuff is like closer to how Dead Space 2 handles that. Which
it's so fun.
Yeah,
I love the zero grav stuff in the remake. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's pretty bad in 1. There's a reason that you changed that. Like I'm not. It changes what the game is, but like not for the worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, if you're making a new like game, how you don't immediately arrive to like, moving in that way, it is just so much more. There's way more player expression in the other way they do it.
Yeah, because basically in the original game, it's like you can grav boot onto surfaces. And then, like, you can, like, throw yourself at a surface to, like, stay on it. So there is, like, a element where, like, you have to hit a switch. You have to do something. It's, like, upside down. And so you, like, fling yourself. But and then in Remake it in 2 and 3, you, like, basically, like, boost. You have a little jetpack and you can, like, fly around a little bit. And I think, like, you're right. It's more expressive. It's more constrained. Also, you have a much better sense of, like, what's around you in the environment. It's, like, really disorienting to, like, fling yourself somewhere. And then you're like, wait, where am I? And sometimes that is, like, satisfyingly chaotic, Or contributes to that. But, like, it's also, I'm sure, like, I didn't have too much trouble with this, but I think for certain people, it would be just, like, horribly motion sickness inducing, right? So. And that's also something that's, I'm sure, generally better. I haven't, like, looked into it, but I'm sure the, like, accessibility options are better in Remake. Because they're basically not there at all in the original.
Yeah, exactly. And I like, it feels so much more dynamic, the gameplay in general, and the Remake does. Just so many moments where, like, a good example is, like, that zero grav section where you have to, like, do the centrifuge, like repair that. And you have to use like stasis. I think it's stasis, where you have to like attach the 2 pipes together.
Yes.
And then in the remake, while you're doing that, there's just like a flying enemy that's like dashing at you the entire time as you're trying to move the tube. And at first I didn't know what the fuck was happening. So like I just kept being hit by something off screen. In a way that was like really cool and just like built the tension way more, because I was like, is somebody attacking me? I don't know. And then yes, something is attacking me. There's only like 3 enemies that can attack you in midair.
Right.
So,
yeah. It is like just because maybe it works a little differently. Although I imagine they keep this, but like in original Dead Space, the enemies kind of operate in the same way. Like they can't really like swim through the air or whatever. So like sometimes you'll just be like walk around and look up, and there'll be like a morph just like like headed your way, and you're like, oh shit, right? Like that. I think the way the game plays with like speed is such a cool escalation, because like at first like enemies they're not slow, but they're not fast, and then you get ones that will like charge you, and then after the enemy, the like military ship hits, you get the ones that like are like stasis locked, and so they'll like suddenly move really fast close to you or away from you, and then like the way the game's like kind of negotiating with your ability to like attack a specific spots quickly right, like is really smartly escalated upon, right? It's really nice.
I was surprised at how much Resident Evil 4 is in this game.
Oh yeah.
Just in terms of like having to shoot specific parts of an enemy and then like them getting close to you and then you have to like build that space to where you can shoot them again.
Yeah.
Very Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, you can
really
you can move while shooting, but you're much slower.
You're so much slower.
And you can't blind fire, right? So you really do have to be like deliberate about where you position yourself and how you, and that stuff is really satisfying. Yeah.
There's some accessibility options where you can you can exploit the accessibility options to make yourself faster when you aim, which is what the speedrun does.
Cool.
Yeah, the speedrun, you're just like aiming the entire time, and Isaac is just like flying across the room and like you're just like breaking scripted events and stuff. Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that is like really cool in the remake that's not in the original, one thing I guess we have alluded to but maybe not specifically addressed, just because it feels like such an iconic element of this game that it feels like almost silly to bring it up, but you kill enemies by shooting off their limbs rather than like headshots are meaningless basically, and body shots do a lot less damage, and so you're encouraged to like take off arms and legs or whatever other appendages might be attached to this horrifying alien creature to get them. And then in remake, with the enemies where it like takes more than a couple shots to take one down, you can like see the flesh kind of like erode around where you shot, and so there's like bone there, and then you like snap the bone and that stuff. And then also there are weapons like the flamethrower and the the force gun where you like push enemies basically.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really a visual indicator of damage in the original game, and so then like now like flesh burns away, and then the force gun is especially gnarly because it's like the flesh off the we're saying xenomorph, but that's the alien thing, right? What are they called? Necromorph. Yeah, I mean, same difference. It's obviously they're trying to conjure the same thing, but like the flesh like sloths off like batter in a pan, and they become like these skeleton things and that stuff is like genuinely super creepy and like it feels like such a smart visual escalation of what the original game is doing, like, and also like technically impressive, right? Like obviously is like a spectacle element, so it
is generally really good feedback for your actions in a way that the original, when you're doing the plasma gun in the original, it is just like plasma rifle. It's a plasma rifle where it is a standard like gun that you shoot at enemies, and in the original game, like it is, you get feedback on the hits, but it doesn't feel as visceral as like the plasma gun where you're just shooting off limbs. But in the remake it feels way more impactful.
Yeah, and it's also, that's something the remake changes too, that you get, instead of buying weapons from the store, you find them in the environment, and so you're a little bit more encouraged to use them, I think, through that. And that's also the thing, is the plasma gun is like it's so useful. It remains useful throughout the entire game, right? And especially like it's the first gun you have, so it's probably the first one you upgrade. And so at first, especially, like eventually I upgraded my line gun and I think the plasma rifle pretty far, so they were both really helpful. And that, but still it's still like most situations it's what you want to have, like to some degree, just because it's so flexible and it's the most like aimable weapon, especially in terms of like cutting limbs off, right? So there is an element of like I actually got the achievement this time for like owning every gun, because in my first playthrough I just didn't bother to buy them,
right? Yeah, for sure. The thing that annoyed me in the remake, I don't know how it is in the original.
Yeah.
In the remake, it is very AAA gaming in that they have systems for like spawning loot and stuff like that. And so a lot of the stuff that would spawn would be things that I didn't have equipped. And you only have like 4 quick select spots.
Yeah.
It felt like such an easy fix to make that not 4 spots.
Yeah.
If you just like could double tap to change.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have inventory space in Remake?
Yeah.
So that's also in the original, and like weapons take up inventory space.
Yeah.
And then in the original, basically, I think a few times I did pick up new stuff, but I think it was when I didn't have, like, I hadn't bought the line gun yet and got a couple of those. But like once I had 4 slots equipped, I only got ammo for those weapons.
I wonder.
Pickups.
Yeah, I wonder if I just left stuff in the inventory, or like in the storage, if it wouldn't spawn those.
Yeah, that's possible, because that's what I did. It's possible that it works the same way across both games, but yeah.
Huh.
And there's also some changes to like the alt fire for the rifle in the remake is a grenade launcher instead of the weird like circly shooty thing that you have in the original game.
I never used the alt fire.
Yeah, I didn't really either.
I forgot that existed.
The line gun mines were helpful a few times. But generally speaking, I didn't use it either. But I also kind of got like I had plasma gun, plasma rifle, line gun, and the contact beam, which does work really differently than because in Remake it's like a continuous laser beam basically, but in the original game it's like you charge it and then it does like a single concentrated shot. Which is kind of tricky to land, but it deals a lot of damage. So when you like that feeling of like, and then like it hitting is like really nice. And so it feels like, oh, that kind of was made more generic in the remake potentially, but you know, what are you gonna do? And then I used the flamethrower a little bit early on for like. There's the little bug guys that come up that you kind of need to like have an AoE attack against.
God, those annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah, they're really annoying. I think I died to them maybe the most of anything, because if enough of them get on you, you lose health super fast.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so like once I sort of had that kind of basic configuration, it felt like, oh, like I have something that can like handle each individual threat, and like each weapon is good enough on it, or I like it enough on its own, that it's not just for a specific use case, right? Like it is like something I can use against most or all enemies in the game. So I did like swap between that stuff pretty freely. But like if I had like some extra cash, I always just bought a bunch of plasma guys, because that was like that's what I would like to have, like generally speaking.
Yeah, I didn't really upgrade much outside of the suit. I just kind of prioritized HP.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I only upgraded HP one time, so
yeah, because I got ammo so sporadically between weapons, I was like, I don't know what to focus on for like weapon upgrades.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I ended up, when I did upgrade, I did like plasma cutter over anything else.
Yeah. And also, the upgrade system is a little bit different in the remake too, because in the original you have like blank spaces that give you nothing. And that just like link you to something you can upgrade, and then in remake that's not the case. Every node gives you something. It's like you pick up little nodes in the environment that you can like spend on like increasing your ammo count like per clip, or dealing more damage, or stuff like that. And then also in remake you can like pick up items that open up certain parts of the tree, and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't really care about upgrade trees to be honest. So I don't think that really felt like a super powerful or cool change. It was sort of like, yeah, it's a little bit more satisfying, I guess, but like that's not always better, but it feels very whatever to me.
I did like how sporadic the benches were. Like I felt like there was way more shops to like buy stuff, but then like actually upgrading things. Felt like you had to keep an extra eye out for that stuff because it wasn't super often you would get those.
Yeah.
Unless like you actively backtracked for them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can, and they show up consistently enough that like it's usually like, oh, I have like 5 nodes or 3 to 5 nodes that I can use right now. But you can't really rely
it's
on
usually
it.
like, it's usually like before like a event or something that they show up.
Oh, something also I kind of don't like. I mean, it's about the remake is that it doesn't. It's not an open world, but it kind of open worldifies it. You can go back to old areas. There's some side quests that like ask you to backtrack. Even because they actually the game actually asks you to backtrack as well, like the original game. But it, it's just a new level. And I think there's a way in which like the Ishimura feels like a space that's outside of your control in the original game. It's, every time you revisit an old area, it's just as hostile and just as bad as the last time you were there, right? Whereas making it traversable all the time and you have an ability to like go to wherever you want or to like take a break from like an urgent mission and be like, I'm gonna go check this out, right? Gives you a sense of like, oh, I'm gaining control, I'm mastering like the space, and I have like a distinct like relationship to that. Whereas I think because it's more roller coastery and focused in the original game, it like feels a little bit more outside of you. In a way that I like, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's more stuff I want to talk about. In general,
I do like how you get more of a sense that Nicole and Isaac's relationship is not did not end well in the remake.
Well, and that's
which I'm sure you get more of that in 2, but
because I think that's part of the things that part of why he's trying to find her is he wants to make things right in a way that's not like she's just super idealized and then dead in the original. And I think 2 does bring out more of that stuff. But I haven't played it, so I couldn't say.
I'm interested in 2. Just knowing that a lot of the gameplay stuff that I liked in the remake came from 2 and 3.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I meant to bring up is the God of War-fication of camera work in games.
Yeah, well, because the original was a game that, it was a little more emphasized through the HUD, which is not true in God of War, right? There's not an immersive HUD in that, or whatever. You do just go into a menu. And then but it is like a single continuous shot, basically, right? Like you're always with Isaac's body, and sometimes you're watching him watch a video, and then at the end, I think the last cutscene, there's like a couple cuts, but that's it,
But those cuts make so much difference. You mentioned the jump scare at the end. I kind of like it more in the original.
Yeah. I think you do.
Because it does the annoying video game thing, the remake does, that you get back on the ship and it just circles around Isaac's face as he takes off the helmet.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care about this. And the original, it just like cuts to like a behind, like he's like, it's the camera's like in the back of the like.
Oh yeah, there's that wide shot
of the ship. Yeah, there's a wide shot. I'm like, that's so much better than just like looking at Isaac's face. looking at him taking the helmet off. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's such
Give me the wide shot every time.
I don't understand. Because I think like this is
yeah.
It's
not more immersive.
I think that's the thing, is that like the reasons Dead Space has that like continuous camera are like not cinematic at all.
No.
You know, in the original game. Like straight up they're not. Like it's just like it's a little bit more theatrical. It's a little bit more, you know,
they
about
wanted to
like,
make
hey,
Half-Life.
Yes, literally, yeah. You're a specific body in a space, and you're moving through that space, and you're constrained to that body, is like the sensation, right?
Yeah.
And it's not really Children of Men, you know, or whatever, or 1917, or you know. Whereas I think like Remake is more directly pulling on that for sure.
It's very annoying.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is you don't really notice or think about it in Dead Space, which is like, actually, hey, you know what? Maybe that's immersion, is like not thinking about it.
Not thinking about it. It's so dumb.
Something I wanted to talk about. I'll also link this. There's a bullet points piece. By, I'm forgetting his full name, so I'm gonna look it up. Edwin Evans Thurwell, called Rigged Game, about Dead Space. And it's really fucking good. And one of the things is, it basically, the central image in it is like the Ishimura and the rig are both like spines. You know, that it's like you have the tram that kind of connects each thing, and then the rig itself like curves along your spine, or Isaac's spine, and that there's like this sensation of the Ishimura being this like ailing body that you have to repair, and that you like move along to all its different organs and like do different things with it, right? That like maps onto the like bigger body horror stuff. It's super cool, and I think that's something like, reading this essay, I mean, I read this ahead of the review because I wrote it, but later, anyway, it's very cool, and I think that like, that's something I think partially that makes this game last, not necessarily that specific image, but just the images are weighty enough, or the sort of idea behind the images are weighty enough that you can think about them beyond the sort of like, it has subtext, even though the game is also like super. It's not a game about living in capitalism, you know?
Right.
It's just a horror game that has like these kinds of resonances. That the Scientology stuff feels a little bit more trite to me, because it is a little bit more like obviously positioned, you know? But it has this kind of natural like body horror stuff that extends out from some of its more obvious images, like in a way that I think is cool, and that has like made it last, you know? As like a thing people are thinking about and making fan art of, and like doing stuff, you know?
You just called it Scientology.
Yeah, well, it is.
It's very funny to me.
It is Scientology.
I mean, it is. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Unitology.
Wondering what you thought of. I mean, speaking of like the religious stuff, I really liked just the realization that like then the back half of the game, like you're just an unreliable narrator, and the way that you're being affected by the whatever it's called, the pillar marker. In the way that's in a way that's like I just kind of had like a slow realization of like, oh, it's pretty obvious what's happening, but like I'm catching up to the fact that like like I'm being instructed by the marker to do these things. Yeah. In a way that Isaac isn't privy to, in a way that Kendra is clearly sees. And I kind of like this the slow like I'm playing a character who is not all there. Also, the remake adds an ending.
Yes, I don't remember what this is, but I did remember that they added that. Yeah.
So in New Game Plus, you can pick up like smaller markers, and like you go. It's very Signalis. Like you pick up the little markers and you go to the captain's room and place all the markers on the little like display that he has.
Right. Yeah.
And then Isaac from there just like leans into I think he's like just cognizant of that, or just completely gone at that point.
Yeah,
because that like he has different lines like
cool.
I forget like specific examples, but like he's very Joker moded about being controlled by the marker. Well, I think, and this is a thing I don't like actually, but like the final boss where he does a one-liner where he's like, this is all I have left, so let's go or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then when you like do the alternate ending, he says like, you can't stop me from doing this or whatever.
Right.
It's just like subtle stuff that hints at his like different change of mind. But like the ending is like he is talking to Nicole as he's getting on the ship and talking about like rebuilding the marker and stuff like that. It's very, very clearly like he is taken over by the marker. In a way that the original ending, he's just like barely made it off of the planet and like out of that situation. So
yeah,
I thought that was neat.
No, it's cool. I think the thing that I like conceptually about this is that there's kind of an implication that the xenomorphs can't really access you unless you're dead. Like if there's
right.
not like zombie infection stuff, right? You can't get bitten and then maybe you're going to turn into a zombie, right? It's like you have to be a corpse. And I think the way that there is then still this way that the marker and like the kind of disease that makes the necromorphs can access you still, right? There's another way that it can do that, and it's actually still your body, but just in this way that feels more psychic, or like, I like seeing Kynes, who also has like an imaginary dead wife that he talks to, which is so funny. Yeah. But he, like that being this reflection of you, and Kendra like pretending that she doesn't know this about you already, that you're kind of in the same spot, is cool.
And I like that in the remake, even though like she is clearly has ulterior motives and knows what's going on, she still like sees her brother and is like clearly distracted by it.
Yes, okay, actually that is in the original. I don't it only gets like a couple lines, but she does talk about seeing him, yeah. The really good one is like she's like he waved at me.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Like that's really unnerving. Yeah. The thing I kind of don't, and maybe I think this gets softened a little bit by remake, is kind of the 2008 of it all. Like it is such a BioShock twist, like it's the exact same kind of thing. That's like, oh, actually, like you were being controlled by this other thing the whole time, or like, actually you were crazy, and that kind of like thing. Obviously, it has like it's ableist in a certain sense, but like also it's just kind of like, yeah, I understand, like I'm playing a video game, I'm following orders, and that's leading me down a path maybe I didn't want to go down. Like that's, makes sense. That's video gaming, and I think that, I don't think it's necessarily, but like I think something like Silent Hill 2 explores that kind of emotional space in a way that feels so much more interesting and psychological in like a really direct way, right? And that has way more to do with like I'm forgetting his name? But James Sunderland's like individual psychology as opposed to Isaac being this sort of like video game protagonist man. You know, even though I was just talking about how much I love, like how much I enjoy the not voice stuff and how much I do think it kind of adds to the game as like a rhetorical object, it is also like he is less of a person just by the absence of that. And so I think that does get changed a little bit in Remake, where he does feel like, particularly like his and Nicole's relationship is like the holes in that are a function of the plot in a way that they're just not in the original, right? And so it does feel a little bit more individual, I think.
Yeah. Also, what do you think of... There's a big change in Remake where they map Nicole onto like the doctor that you run into.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? Where
the one who kills herself? Am I thinking of the thing, or is this
No,
else?
it's the one who gets you to kill the Leviathan.
Oh, right.
So the whole thing is like she is helping you through that level, but Isaac is seeing Nicole in that moment.
Right. Yes. I forgot about that entirely.
And so and then in New Game Plus you can go into the room where she is helping you, and you can like look at the log and see that Isaac is clearly talking to Nicole, and that the doctor is just like kind of going along with it.
Yeah.
And that is like not in the original game. It is very like, this has a plot hole. Nicole helps you in this level, but she's not real. What happened?
Yeah. Well, I think that's like the door opening in The Shining. You know, it's like it's not it's not a plot hole. It's like a big horrifying mystery. You know, it's like what did that? What like helped you? You know, I guess I feel like a little bit. There's things about that seem like they could be satisfying. You know. Mm-hmm. But also, I do kind of like the way that moment is just like unexplained. Like something helps you or something leads you through that situation, but like it's not, you know, it's apparently not Nicole. Who knows what's happening there? You know, that's I think that like that mystery is not a mistake. You know,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I just like this one. I'm trying to think about stuff that I didn't... I mean, some of the Zero Gravity segments, don't care for that necessarily, especially if it's like... There's that sequence where you're like blowing up the asteroids and stuff in... That's pretty annoying in the original game. I think it's a lot more manageable in Remake. And I think... there's a couple of the final levels that feel like a little bit tiresome, even when you're just having to drag the marker with you. This is like such a weird thing to say.
That goes on so long.
It goes on really long, and it's also like an escort mission, but without the interesting part of an escort mission, which sounds weird because obviously people hate those. But like that is like, in theory, that like helps you like switch up like your strategy. You need to think about like, oh, I'm protecting someone, and like how does that change the way I play? And like whether they're well executed or not, or like a good idea generally is a different kind of thing. But in this, it's just you just have to drag this thing along with you, and then you do like regular fights, and then you have to go back to like doing this busy work. Like, and you can be like, oh, you're a worker. You gotta do hard labor, and I'm like, fuck off.
What is this character?
This is my narratologist voice, I guess.
That whole last chapter just felt like it was stretching.
Yeah. I don't.
It just felt so unnecessary.
The Leviathan is like pretty silly. Like, oh, you shoot the glowing weak spots, and he's big. It's a video game boss. You know?
Oh, I like the Zero Grav Leviathan in the remake is cool as hell. I don't know what it is. I think it's just like the lighting makes it look like a giant Muppet to me. In a way that it just looks really cool. And then the final boss is just like a nothing.
For sure.
Nothing fucking The Evil Within did it better, I feel like.
True. I mean,
which isn't saying much because I also hated it there.
Yeah. No, it's pretty whatever. But I think that's the thing. I think, like, you know, like 7 of those 8 hours are like pretty damn good. You know, it's a little bit. I think remake's a little bit longer because especially if you do like side quest stuff. But it's like 10 to 12 maybe.
Yeah, I finished it in around 8 though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's not. It really doesn't outstay its welcome. You know.
Yeah.
Which is super appreciated.
I did feel compelled. I at least started it on New Game Plus. I don't know if I'll finish it, but like the gameplay just feels good.
Yeah.
In a way that like we don't tend to play a lot of games that like feel good in like the traditional like it feels good to shoot things kind of way. But it feels good to shoot things in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it just is. Oh, what do you think about the? We didn't really talk about the doctor unitologist man who's like, let's become the new flesh, and also the stuff what happens to him gets changed around. I think because he gets like grabbed by the big tentacle arm, right, when you're trying to pick up the marker, and then in the original game you like pick up a video of him like letting himself be turned into a necromorph.
Yeah, that seems cooler.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he does feel a little bit more menacing in the remake, maybe. Because you get that scene where he like freeze beams you and is like walking around you and stuff. Like that has a kind of a creepy, like him holding his life in your hands and then giving it back to you, which is like kind of there in the original, but is like you're just kind of standing in a room and he's like, I'm gonna let you live, and you're like, I don't know that you could have killed me. Like, what do you mean? So.
Yeah, I didn't really think much of him, to be honest.
Well, I think that is like I just think that's the thing is like the Scientology angle of the game is just like is basically being like, hey, you know, Scientology, bad. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I agree. Seems bad. There you go. I mean, I guess I do like the element of that where it's like some guys are like, okay, we need to take the marker home to the church. And some guys are like, we need to, like, this is turning people into zombies. Like, we gotta stop this. This is not what I believe in. You know, there being these, like, competing perspectives on what is happening and people having different levels of investment in, like, the teachings of the church is, like, a cool angle. You know, and feels like it's approaching it, at least, like, individuals' relationship to it with some level of nuance, as opposed to, like, oh, like, they're all bad cultists, right? Like, some of them are, but some of them are just guys who go to church.
Yeah.
You know? And that's nice. I think you could do worse with that stuff for sure.
Yeah. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
We don't have any questions, right? Or anything?
No, I also forgot to put out the
thing. I always forget. So we'll develop a more rigorous system for doing it or something. We gotta optimize our metrics here.
Yeah.
We gotta make our mining for content more efficient. But no, I mean, yeah, good. It's good. It's far from the best game we played and definitely not the worst, you know? Solid.
Yeah.
It is indeed pretty cool. Pretty classic.
It's pretty classic.
Yeah.
It's cool to see that.
It is cool to see that. So, what are we covering next time?
We're covering Crow Country.
That's right. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. I'm curious. I don't know a ton about it. Other than it's throwback video game.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Final Fantasy VII because you got a little like polygon lady.
Yeah.
I love that look. I love the little toy box Final Fantasy VII look. It's so good.
It is.
And yeah, and we're also going to do Event Horizon on Found Footage, which is behind the paywall. But if you want to hear us talk more about the new flesh in space, we're going to do that. It's going to be good. I've never seen it, so I'm excited. I like both Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne, you know?
Yes, I agree. One thing I wanted to complain about. I mentioned being cynical about AAA games.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was going to ask you about this. I'm sorry I didn't. Keep going.
So I was like, I really like this game, this Dead Space remake. I wonder what this developer is doing now. And they're doing Battlefield and Iron Man.
Oh my god. They were...
what the fuck is happening?
They were working on a Dead Space 2 remake, I think. They did some pre-production, and then it got squashed. Which, I understand that, the state of video games is such that the I'm sad about a remake not getting made is fucking deranged. You know? That's truly low levels. But also, I am a little bit sad about it. I'd rather have them... it's like the Tony Hawk 1+2 people who are, now making Overwatch maps.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Who wants an Iron Man game?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
It's 2024.
Well, they're bringing it back.
Your window for Iron Man... Wait, what?
Just Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU.
Yeah, but not as Iron Man.
Well, there's some speculation about this, Russ.
Oh my god, this is so stupid.
It's dumb. I don't know. It's dumb.
Endgame was 4 years ago at this point?
5. It
came out a long time ago.
Yeah.
They probably started pre-production when that came out.
Yeah, oh my god. Well, there's that Wolverine game too. Or whatever. Yeesh.
Video game. Why does everything take so long to make now? It's insane.
Well, it's everything is so generating high definition assets is or 4K level assets is just so time intensive and labor intensive.
Yeah, but it's everything because TV has to be movies now. So
oh yeah. No,
we're in 2 years from now we're gonna get Ahsoka season 2.
Well, that's also
a show
the thing,
that has 8 episodes.
We've talked a little bit about watching Mad Men, or we've talked a bit about Mad Men because I've been watching it over 3 fucking years because I take forever to do anything. But that show looks so good and looks so cinematic, right? And is also it's not just 8, it's 12 episodes a season. And it's also structured like a TV show. There's recurring sets. Yeah. It's a workplace comedy / drama, when can we bring this back?
Yeah.
When can you have a recurring location that changes meaning and gains depth over time? I would like to see that again in a television show.
Just get people on sets and write some characters. It's not that hard.
Yeah, God.
Nobody wants to watch Obi-Wan throw rocks at Darth Vader. No one wants that.
They really should have done my idea for an Obi-Wan show or film.
Why does Flea steal Leia?
Why does Flea steal Leia?
That's so stupid.
Did you see that? There was a behind the scenes quote where when they were developing Obi-Wan, and I think at that point Mandalorian was already in production, and they were like, "Wait, are we just making Lone Wolf and Cub again? They can't all be Lone Wolf and Cub." And it's like, what have we sunk to as a culture? Ooh, you know?
It's fucked up because, like, I watched some of the Ahsoka show, and it's, like, kind of just good in that they just wrote some characters and they go on an adventure.
Yeah.
Fucking none of that in Obi-Wan. Fucking nothing.
No, there isn't. It's so... What a weird show.
God, it pisses me off. It's such an easy layup. What the fuck?
I know. I think... You know what? I also think it was a mistake to have them meet again. I think what you should do is you should force Skype. Bring back Force Skype, and that's how. And then you have Hayden Christensen there for like a lot of the show and talking instead of like one scene. You know?
Yeah.
Or two. I guess you get the flashback, which looks so weird, but that's a different, different discussion.
Oh my, yeah. No, I stopped watching Ahsoka when they brought out CGI Anakin.
I did not get to that point.
And it wasn't intentional, but now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, do I want to watch it? And more of that, more weird CGI Anakin Skywalker? I don't really.
Yeah, literally. Well.
That's, All I'm saying is Doc Hayward knew what Skype was, and Dave Villeneuve built that desk. You pull a lever and a monitor comes up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Twin Peaks Season 3 is probably the best show ever made, and that's just my opinion.
I mean, it's real good.
I'm not a TV connoisseur. It's just real good.
It's real good.
Another show where, took forever to make, but it's very clearly people talking on sets, and then occasionally a fucked up thing happens. That's all you need to do.
Well, also the CGI is so cool and weird in that. Like, it's really...
Yeah.
It really leverages the sort of impossible things you can do with it, things that look like they shouldn't exist. It's cool.
Half the actors are like sitting down and talking half the time because they're fucking old.
Yeah.
But it's still better than everything else. You don't need that much.
No, you really it's just just deliberate blocking and camera work does so much. It's so important.
Yeah.
Anyway. I
Patreon.com/thesaferoom.
That's right. Let us, we'll talk more about Star Wars at some point. We're gonna do cool science fiction shit ongoing. We're gonna play Crow Country. It's good stuff.
I'd rather do a Twilight podcast before we do a Star Wars one.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. Oh god, right. Twilight's so fucked up. I love it. Anyway, do you want to plug anything else?
No.
Okay. I always have a billion plugs. But I was on Indiepocalypse Radio with the co-editor of Tier, Phoenix, where we talked about that project. And that's at imaginaryenginereview.ghost.io. You can look up, I don't think it's up yet, but it will hit like the podcast feed. So you can watch the episode at the Pizza Pranks, all one word, lowercase, on Twitch, or you can wait for that episode to drop in the Indiepocalypse Radio feed. But I thought it was really good. I really liked our rapport, and we were talking just a lot about where video games criticism is at and what we want Tier to do, both with that and in opposition to it. I think it's a really rich, cool episode. Andrew, Indiepocalypse itself is just a really cool project. So you can look that up on itch. Good shit. That's what I have to plug. Also, I'm online places at Grace Machine, but I don't post anymore. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. It's podcast.
Rose. Make us whole again.
So the penis unplugged. When the laws of entropy touch, you better dread the judge. Wiser men than us been crushed to find dust. When a fortune cookie dummy unfucked, I just shrug. A note like a broken electrical pole song. For the done, for the scum of the circuitry on the run. Haven't seen the sun with the naked eye much. So the neon is my god and it shine on the numb. Hop up with the bike uncut, okay, ready. Work ain't been too steady, I'm headed for something heavy. If you got the credits, I'll pull the crime of the century. Morality's only a memory when belly's empty. Swine get they high mind, focus on taking mine. Get in line, swine, you won't deny me my piece of pie. Any fucker in this broke future that they design, don't comply. I'll supply a deletion, the end is nigh.
I used to pray to God, but I think he took a vacation. Cause now the state of Cali is ran by these corporations. The skyscraper shallow, the homeless, the population. The degradation they face, which should be an abomination. They body parts are stolen and sold to the richest patient. And we the mercenaries at war with the active agents. The legislators that work for the sadists that kill the babies. Would die in the back of a bullet built on Mercedes. Just to serve, murder them and the chauffeur. With humble herb, let my brain exit the herb. That's righteous, huh? Cyberpunk, holding a pump. Keanu Reeves, cyber arm under my sleeve. I blast them all, watch them fall like autumn leaves. Damn it, I can't leave. Night City keep calling me. God damn it, I'm a G. And this fuck shit is all it needs. Life a funky bitch, but this bitch ain't divorcing me.